Hi, my name is Faizal.
And I'm Adi.
And welcome to our podcast, the A and F podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And today's topic is called What's Sticking Your Talk?
Actually, when I first saw the title that was proposed, I was like, will I be interested in what's sticking my talk? I think what I would be more interested in is what's sticking my
Okay, so anyway, the idea behind this episode is actually we want to talk more about our experiences and stories behind some creative collaboration and some creative works. And probably we're going to talk about, the whole process and the good and the bad and the ugly and all of that.
while working collaboratively in a group.
I suppose we could talk about anything, but I suppose we could probably start with, just giving a background of our area of specialization. So basically what we're good at. So maybe we can start with Adi.
Okay, for me, my area of specialty, I think, is children. For some reason, I always have no difficulty whatsoever trying to communicate with children. I can literally go up to any kids and strike up a conversation. Either a conversation or I will just do funny things. I will go up to them and they will be entertained.
You're always disturbing kids anywhere and everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, it's my favorite pastime. I guess, children, the thing about children is it's always nice to play with them, but it's never nice to own them.
You mean to have our own kids?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, so
I'm sure all moms can really, relate to that.
I'm sure all the moms out there can relate to what Adi just said.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe I'll just give you a little bit of background about my area of specialization. So basically, when I was still young, I had this inclination towards graphic design. Yeah, but I can say that I'm not really the best graphic designer out there, but I still have enough skills to make it, something I can live on. So it's my job. And basically, I don't just do graphic designing. So I think most of the people out there haven't really thought about, maybe my friends or some of my close friends, they don't really exactly know what I do. So maybe I can explain to them through this podcast, I suppose.
Probably.
Yeah. So basically, I'm not just a graphic designer. So I actually started out as a web developer. I started coding HTML, all those CSS, and since I was in primary school, when I was in primary 5 or primary 6, and it kind of grew from there. And with web development skill, I guess it came with the graphic design skill, because when I put together a website and I want the website to look good, naturally I would have to learn how to do some graphic designing. So that's where the graphic designing part came about. But I didn't go to any art school, I didn't go to LaSalle, I didn't go to NAFA, but I kind of learned everything on my own. So I'm a self-taught graphic designer, and then I became a multimedia designer. So I learned a lot of other things. I learned how to do videos, and I learned how to edit a bit of audio here and there, just enough, to create video content. Yeah, so basically, I always tell myself at this point of time, I'm like my own agency. So because my background is in marketing and communication, so I can do all the work as well as market everything myself.
Yeah, basically what I've been doing, right, for my own company, which is to like market the company, at the same time do its finances, while at the same time teach the students who are like under the company, and then at the same time I'm also like writing, producing stuff for the company. So I can totally understand what you're like saying, and like this whole thing about like graphic design, multimedia design, and like web design. I've tried like web designing, and for a task as simple as putting a blog spot together, I was struggling. I was like always trying to like look at the like coding, and I was like, what
Those
is
were the
going
days. Those
on?
were the days when people actually still blog. I had my own blog.
I still
and,
blog.
You still blog.
Mhm.
But nowadays, blogs are so easy to set up because it's all templated.
But because I'm like always struggling with like trying to put things together for the website or for like collaterals, like brochures. Therefore, I have to like kind of like do this thing what we call the uh, creative collaboration. Creative collaboration. So I always got him in to actually like help me with all my like collaterals, my web design. Yeah.
So we kind of collaborate, and how we collaborate is actually through theatre. So I stopped doing theatre for a while. So I was doing theatre for a while, then I stopped for a few years. I guess because work took over and like it's not my priority at that few years. Then Adi kind of got me in and said that hey, maybe we should. He wants to put out his own show. And I'm like, sure, why not? Then I can do all the marketing, I can do all the multimedia stuff.
Yeah, and basically what we've done during our creative collaboration is to do a lot of experimentation, to come up with like materials that we can call our own. Because like for me, I'm always very particular about like people dictating like, oh, you should be doing it this way, you should be doing it this way. I'm the kind of person who always want to have things in my control. So like I want to create things the way I would perceive it, the style that I see it, and
How
like
you envision
yeah,
it.
how I envision it, and I'm even particular like to the point of like how we process things to get there. Yeah, so that's just me.
So
Yeah.
I guess it's just like, different people have different ways of working, and you have a certain set of ways that you do your work.
Mm.
And sometimes, some people who maybe you have a little bit of control issue, then you just don't agree with how your collaborators are, going through the motion, going through the process, the creative process, and then you're like, no, this is not the way I want it to be done, and like it should be done this way. But then I guess when it comes to a creative collaboration, there's always a give and take. There's always like a form of like, I have to give in and accommodate, and like the other party also have to give in and accommodate, and then we have to come to a middle ground.
I suppose, but actually I've not even gotten to the whole idea of like creative collaboration. I'm actually about to arrive at why I set up my own company, because I realized that there are a lot of like things that I cannot stand, and there are a lot of things that I would prefer to have it like my way. So like like a lot of companies will always say, oh, if you don't do it our way, then you are not part of the company. So that's where I decided, you know what? I don't mind not being part of your company, and therefore I set up my own company.
So I guess what you're trying to say is that the company's principles and your principles just don't match.
Mm. And that's the thing that I always struggle with, like when your vision and your collaborators' vision just don't match. Or, but actually, most of the time, it's not even like about our vision. I think what my pet peeve is like when our level of work ethics don't match. Then I think that's when like, yeah, I will just call it off lah.
I have a big issue with ethics.
Mm.
Right. At work, I have some issues with ethics and like how some people do their work, and like I can totally relate. Like because it breaks the momentum when you're a person who's passionate about something, or like you just want to get your job done well, and you just do it once and do it well, and then like, just some people with just very poor work ethics just kind of break that momentum, and then for me it gets me very upset. Like, I get very, very upset because like, things are going so well, and then like, there's just this barrier that happened, and I'm like, why?
Yeah. I don't understand people who actually come to work and like build a barrier around them and like decided not to have like any form of input into the whole process. And I was like, then why are you here? Just go home, sleep. Nobody will like, make noise at you. So yeah, if you want to come to work and if you want to collaborate in a way, then do something. Yeah.
Yes. So anyway, talking about all this collaboration and all, like, I guess when it comes to all these processes, right? When it comes to all these processes, so maybe we can go a bit further and talk about our insecurities or flaws when it comes to this kind of creative collaboration or creative process. The ups and downs, like what are the good things? What are the good things? Maybe we should start with that. We've been talking about all the downside of collaboration because of the unevenness or the unmatched principles or expectations. So maybe how can we then, as creative producers ourselves, encourage a healthy collaboration and a healthy process moving forward?
Wow, that's actually a very loaded question. Maybe you can like share some insights on how I can do that, because recently I sat for this interview for something big in my life. So during the interview, I was asked like, what is your weaknesses and what is your strength, and how do you perceive the whole idea of creative collaboration. So I told them honestly that like my strength would be like, like I read up a lot on like folklore, folk tales. So I have like I would believe higher than average knowledge of like our different folklores and folk tales. So that would be a strength for me. But when it comes to like creative collaboration, that is like almost like a weakness to me, because I have issues with a lot of people. I mean, I have issues with a lot of things, and like little things will just tick me off. Like I had collaborations where, because I'm currently doing my masters, right? So we have to do like some group project, and I just have difficulty trying to understand like certain people who come to school not having first done their readings or not having first done their research, and then they come for group meetings with zero knowledge but trying to act like as if they know everything, and then after that like their suggestions are as good as being thrown into like the rubbish bin.
I guess when it comes to having classmates like that, I mean, I have classmates who were like doing group projects. They attend the first lesson and they just disappear for the rest of the time. So I've had my fair share of like group mates who the day before or the 1 hour before class kind, and go and Google and research. I'm like, yeah, you're doing things for the sake of doing, then you're not giving a value addedness to it, because it's a collaboration. So I guess one thing that's very important in doing a group work is that as a team player, you need to know what are your strengths, and then how you can value add to the project that you're doing, because everybody have their weaknesses, everybody have their strengths. So I guess when you creatively collaborate and then you go through the process, you need to know everybody's strengths and weaknesses, so you know what to delegate and who knows what, and who can do a certain task the best, so that you get the optimal output from the whole process, and then everybody at the end of the day will feel satisfied. So for me, that value addedness and probably the initiative to also understand each other's weaknesses and flaws and strengths, especially strengths, then you can move ahead faster rather than you being tied down to like oh you don't know how to do this, you don't know how to do this, and then like it doesn't get the work done.
But what if your strength is only like smoke screening and like code tailing and like free riding? I mean, like, I'm sure a lot of you can relate, right? Like, you come to work and you want to do good work in a company or in a group or in anything that you do, and then comes along this person who just wants to ride on whatever that has been worked before and like earn the money and just run with it. And I mean, like, what's your take on that?
I guess then that's a matter of principle. I mean, there's a lot of things to factor into that, because like you have to take note of the business owner, the paymaster, and you need to look at the project that you're doing and who you're working with, because you're not going to always land yourself in a very perfect situation, in a very perfect gig, in a very perfect project. So I believe in this. I believe in risky lah. So if you are going to let yourself in this project and then it's meant for you, and if it's going to be bad, then it's going to be bad. So that risky is just that money and the situation is going to be dead for you. So if you land in a good situation where you have good team players, you have a good paymaster, the company is good, or like the whole process is good because everybody brings everything to the plate, then that's good for you. You're not going to every time land a very good project or land a very good job for yourself. That's what I believe in. So you just need to take everything with a pinch of salt sometimes, and you just have to be patient and tolerant when it comes to yourself, because you have your own set of expectations. So you need to know that okay, this expectation, when you work at this job or this project, then when you have your expectations too high, then you're just going to end up disappointing yourself. So you need to assess the situation. You need to see like, okay, you go to this place A, you go to this place B, and then like maybe A is not going to be as good, so you don't put your expectation too high. Like you just bring whatever is enough to the plate. Sometimes when I was talking to you about this, and like sometimes when you go to this place A, and then like it's just like that, and then you're moving at 100 kilometer per hour and everybody else is moving at 50 kilometer per hour, then sometimes it's going to be counterproductive, because you end up being frustrated because you have to keep on explain yourself.
Okay, there are like many things that you brought up. Okay, like number one is risky, and number two is about like you going at a different pace and probably having different wavelength from anybody else that is like working collaboratively with you. So with those two in mind, I think we need to like give like everyone time to think, right? Think about like the whole concept of risky, and do you agree? Risky is like this. Okay, for those of you who are not familiar with the concept of risky is this like concept of like sustenance, whereby like in Malay culture, we usually believe that everyone have their own fair share of like. Oops, I just hit the mic. Where we believe that everyone have their fair share of like sustenance that have been predetermined in a certain way. So like there are communities who will believe that, or rather there are certain group of Malays who will believe like, okay, like this has been given to us, we should be thankful, and that we shouldn't work any harder or like strive any further than this. Then there's another group who will feel like, okay, it has been predetermined. Is there a way we can work to get more? So like, that is something that I think when we talk about risky, a lot of Malays especially like like the new millennials, Malay, will disagree with this whole idea of risky, that you should always be thankful about your risky. But we'll come to that later on after the break. And then like the other thing about like going at a different wavelength and going at a different speed from everybody else, and how do you even like overcome that? So we'll be back after the break.